Unexpected rival. Jessica was an ordinary woman living in a modest apartment, much like countless others. Each morning, she followed the same routine, went to work, clocked out, and headed straight to the gym. Hours later, she returned home, prepared dinner, watched a Netflix series, and laid out her uniform for the next day. It was the same unchanging pattern, day in, day out, without exception. One day, tired of the same old routine, Jessica decided that the next morning she would wake up early to go for a run. And so she did. By 6 a.m., she was already laced up and ready to head out. The day was perfect. The air was crisp and clean, the trees looked fuller and greener than usual, and the streets were quiet and spotless. She felt so refreshed that she began running every morning. On her route, she passed through a charming neighborhood, her favorite part of the run. She loved looking at the houses with their perfectly maintained gardens. One morning, after adding a few extra kilometers to her usual route, Jessica stopped in front of one of those beautiful homes, exhausted and thirsty. She sat down on the curb, trying to catch her breath. Suddenly, a burst of water sprayed her back. Startled, she let out a small scream. From the house nearby, a man stepped out, his pants covered in dirt. Apologetically, he said the sprinklers were misaligned and he hadn't realized they would spray the sidewalk. Jessica laughed and replied with a smile, "Don't worry, I needed to cool off anyway." Grateful for her understanding, the man offered her a glass of water. "I'm Nathan, by the way. Let me get you that drink." They started chatting. Jessica asked Nathan why he was so muddy, and he explained that he did gardening in the early mornings to avoid the heat of the day. "I've never met anyone who takes such good care of their garden," Jessica said. "Your flowers are stunning. I have to admit, every time I pass by, yours is the most beautiful garden on the street. Your wife must be thrilled with your work." Nathan simply smiled and nodded in response. "Well, I'd better get going. I still have part of my run left. Thanks again for the water, Nathan. See you around." Later that morning at work, Jessica, head of the accounting department, was unusually tense. That day, the company was introducing a new administrative manager. She had applied for the role herself, but it had gone to someone from another branch, supposedly because she hadn't been with the company long enough. "This is humiliating," Jessica burst out. "I've won the productivity bonuses for the past few years and I always meet my targets. I can't believe they gave the job to someone just because of seniority." Her colleague Adele, trying to calm her down, said, "Maybe next year will be your turn. Don't get discouraged. Besides, I heard the new guy had actually been offered the role before, but turned it down due to some family issues." "That's ridiculous," Jessica snapped. "I'm better than him. I'll make his life a nightmare." "Come on, calm down," Adele replied. "Let's head to the conference room. He's about to arrive." Jessica was so caught up in her plotting that she didn't notice someone approaching. They collided hard. A male voice quickly apologized. "I'm so sorry, I didn't see you." Still slightly dazed, Jessica looked up and began to respond, then stopped. "Oh, it's you. The runner girl, Jessica. Oh my God, Nathan? What are you doing here?" "I've just been transferred to this branch," he said, smiling. Jessica stood frozen, realizing her new rival had just walked into her life in the most unexpected way. The welcome meeting for Nathan had begun, and everyone filed into the boardroom as new projects were assigned. Once the meeting was over, they all returned to their designated workstations. Jessica resumed her usual tasks without much thought. It wasn't until the end of the day, as she was heading toward the exit, that she heard a voice calling her. "Jessica!" She turned around. Nathan was running to catch up with her. "I'm glad I caught you," he said, slightly out of breath. "I wanted to talk to you earlier, but I had back-to-back meetings all day." "What was it you wanted to talk about?" Jessica responded. "How about we get a drink and you tell me what I need to know about the office dynamics, the procedures, everything." "Oh, I can't. I'm headed to the gym and then I've got a lot to do at home," she replied, though deep down she was just coming up with excuses. She didn't feel comfortable going out with a coworker. It could easily become complicated. "All right then, maybe some other time," Nathan said with a note of disappointment. Later at home, Jessica couldn't help but feel regret for having turned him down. From the very first time she saw him, she'd found him extremely attractive. But she hadn't dared ask for his number. What if he's married and I'm just setting myself up for disappointment? He's exactly my type, Why did he have to work in the same office as me? That's so unfair, she exclaimed in frustration. Besides, I shouldn't read too much into it just because he asked me out for a drink. He might be married, and even if he isn't, there are plenty of beautiful women in the office. He probably just talked to me because he recognized me, she thought. The following day, as she arrived at work, she noticed a different car in the parking lot, which was unusual, as she was always the first one there. As she walked past, she saw that the administrative manager's office door was already open. Nathan's already here, very responsible of him getting a head start, she thought. When the rest of the administrative staff arrived, Nathan asked each person for their reports. I need all the reports submitted by this afternoon, especially yours, Jessica. I want full income and expense reports, sales figures, financial statements, everything from the past 2 years, he said firmly. With that, he slammed the door behind him, ending the meeting abruptly. Everyone turned to Jessica with sympathetic looks, realizing that the strict new guy had taken the position she'd been aiming for. What he's asking is insane, Jessica exclaimed later to her friend Adele. What happened to Nathan? He seemed so nice during the welcome meeting, Adele replied, confused. I have no idea, but I'll show him I'm more than capable of handling the job and whatever he throws at me. I won't let someone two-faced like him beat me. In the back of her mind, Jessica couldn't help but wonder if Nathan was retaliating because she had rejected his offer the day before. If that's the case, it's unbelievably immature, she thought to herself. It was nearly the end of the workday, and Jessica was feeling pleased. She had managed to finish all her tasks on time. As she headed toward Nathan's office to hand everything in, she noticed the room was empty. Confused, she turned back and returned to her desk. Did you finish everything the boss asked for? Adele asked casually. When you went to the restroom, Nathan stepped out of his office and told us not to worry. He said we could turn it in by Friday. He even apologized for the way he'd requested it and then left for a meeting. That bastard! Why didn't you tell me, Adele? Jessica shouted, clearly frustrated. I thought you already knew, Adele replied nervously. As the days went by, the atmosphere in the office began to shift. Nathan and Jessica learned to work together effectively, and peace slowly returned to the administrative department. One evening, the women from the admin team got together for drinks, exchanging office gossip as usual, and unsurprisingly, Nathan's name came up. He's so handsome. I wonder if he's married, one of the women mused. Dahlia from the sales department chimed in immediately. I think he's absolutely gorgeous. And guess what, ladies? He's single. Upon hearing that, Jessica nearly choked on her drink. Isn't it odd for a man his age to be single? She asked, trying to sound nonchalant. Well, he's not exactly single, Dahlia replied.